Hello everyone, in front of the follower here with my late game Styanax build because I do want to show how he works before the Nourish change tomorrow. So first off, in this video I will be showing Styanax's base abilities, and then I'll be showing his full kit and my full build, Arcanes, Archon Shards, and Augments and Subsume I'm using on him. Now, I am not putting out a Styanax base guide until maybe 3 or 4 days after this video comes out, because I'm waiting for his new augment to see how that actually changes base Styanax. I do not feel that his new augment is going to change my late game build, but we will see, and if it does, I'll end up posting another video about that, but I want to get this out today. So that being said, let me actually go run over there and I'll show you how he works with enemies. So his first ability is Axios Javelin. What it does is it throws a javelin and it pins an enemy into the floor wall. When pinned, it pulls in nearby enemies. It does deal a little damage on the pull, but it's not that high. His second ability is Thera Strike. What you do is you hit enemies and you lower their armor and shields, and you also heal yourself. The armor and shield reduction is 50% at 100% power strength, so 2 hits will strip them. His third ability is Rally Point. What it does is it gives you an energy regeneration per second, and when you kill an enemy, it gives you shields. So as you can see, I'm at 975 shields currently, and now I'm at 125 or 1025 after killing the gunner. His final ability is actually Final Stand, and what it does is you fly in the air and throw javelins at enemies. Each enemy hit by a javelin gets a slash proc for each javelin that hits them, so you can stack a lot of slash procs on one enemy. Now the thing about his 4 is you can increase the amount of javelins not by power strength, but by duration. So if you want to throw more javelins in the base Styanax, put on continuity or any other duration based mod. That's kind of cool animation. That being said, let me go get my actually full late game Styanax. So this is my most used Warframe in Steel Path in the last few months. He's not high on my most used because I've been playing for years and I have a lot of the Warframes I use, but he is getting up there for sure. So I removed his 1 for subsumes and I put on Nourish because, as I said, energy conversion or the energy multiplier. I gain 12 energy per second with Rally Point, but with a 5 times multiplier that this Nourish has, that puts me up to about 60 energy per second. Also, Nourish does give viral on weapons, so it makes builds a little more fun in the fact that you can put on other elements such as heat, corrosive, magnetic, blast, and still get the advantage of having viral on your weapon. And also any enemies that damage you, such as shooting you or throwing something at you, also take a viral proc as well. So this is the Archon Shards I actually put in him, which is kind of a later game thing. I put in Crimson for power strength because power strength does play an important part in Styanax, of course, with his abilities. Intrepid Stand is something I highly recommend. It is currently the only augment he has as of recording this video. They are about to release another one. This is for the subsume for Grendel, so do not worry. Intrepid Stand gives you 60 overguard per enemy hit by Styanax's 4. So as you can imagine, hitting a lot of enemies with javelins is going to give you a lot of overguard. It also gives overguard to allies, but it only gives half of the overguard you gain. However, it is based off of affinity range, which is really helpful. So enemies or your allies can be a decent bit away from you, and you'll still be able to be a really good support for them. The 2 arcanes I use are Multificiency, which gives you more duration while your shields are up. And you should be typically having shields up with Styanax because Rally Point, if you're killing enemies while it's active, will give you your allies more shields. And your 4 is going to be giving you a lot of overguard. Secondly, I have Mold Augmented. This gives you more power strength per kill. Now, it does stack up to 250 stacks. At that, you get 60% ability strength, which is pretty nice. It puts me up to 472. Now, if you're looking at the forma count, this is not fully accurate. The thing is, for this build, I put in 2 added forma to increase my capacity rate. What this allows for me is to not need to put in an Archon charge for extra energy on spawn, And it also allows me not to need something such as preparation, which gives you more energy on spawn as well. So having more forma or having a higher capacity allows you to have more energy per spawning into a mission. So having this high capacity usage allowed me to actually have enough energy when I spawn in. So technically the build only needs 7 forma. First off, let me show you rally point. This is how fast the energy comes up. It is pretty decent. Again, it is 12 energy per second. However, once I activate Nourish, look how quickly my energy starts going up. So let me just use Final Stand, which does take 155 energy because I'm not using any efficiency on this build. Notice how I'm not running out of energy. By the time it finishes casting, I can cast it again because my energy is already increased a little over what it was at the beginning of the cast. Now mind you, there are no enemies nearby, which does mean that if there are enemies nearby, one of them is going to drop an energy orb at one point, even though it will give me at least 25 energy. With a 5 times for Nourish, that is 125 energy I'm going to get. So this is why the Styanax build is really helpful. It's going to keep you full on energy and allies. It's going to keep you alive with the overguard and the shield gating capability. And it's overall going to keep you in a fight for quite a while. It's a very lazy frame I found, and it's very fun. So with that being said, let us rush into some missions, and you'll see how it works. So the mission I'm running is the Disruption, and I want to show you first off how he deals with Demolysts in Steel Path, and then I'm going to show you something else about him. So the thing about Styanax is that with Nourish, enemies that shoot him of course are going to get a viral proc. Very rarely I've noticed that his 4 with Nourish active will give a viral proc to enemies. I'm not sure if it's from the 4 or from an enemy hitting him. But as you can see, the 2 does have kind of a short range, which is kind of a pain with Demolysts because they can nullify your abilities with that red pulse. But I can just spam my 4 and kill him, and that is a Nox who has a ton of damage reduction, which makes them a major pain. Now with this normal Demolist that does not have the insane damage reduction, one group of my 4 kills him, which is amazing. With one cast, I mean. This is what I love about Styanax. He's great for anything. Now the other part of this is I want to show the other part of his gating. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, he has 2 ways of gating. He can shield gate and overguard gate. So the way to shield gate with him is his 3 rally point. Any enemy killed gives you shield. It gives it to him and allies that assist her nearby. So because of this, Styanax does not need his 4 to actually survive in Steel Path. If you just spam heavy attack, something like the Pennant, which I'm doing here, as you can tell, I'm able to survive very easily with no problems. I'm even able to tank a few hits, go invulnerable, strip armor, and then heavy attack and take them down. It's something that I love about Styanax. He's very diverse and he's not entirely reliant on the augment, even though the augment does make him insanely powerful. So the last thing I want to show off is the Sarge's Ruck fight. Now, no, your computer or phone did not lag there. That was my recording being weird for some reason. So the thing about this fight is Styanax's 3 rally point needs to kill an enemy in order to gain the shield. However, with Intrepid Stand, the augment for Styanax is 4. You do not need the enemy to die to gain the overguard. All they need to do is be hit by the base hit of the javelin or by the small explosion of the javelin, which makes things like the Sarge's Ruck fight very easy because Styanax is able to completely use Sarge's Ruck as his own little personal overguard farm. And also he can deal damage to Sarge's Ruck with the explosions on his 4. As you can see a couple of times like right now, he just got chunked a decent bit. He lost, I want to say, a quarter of his health through my 4, which is really nice. Now no, you're not going to be farming Sarge's Ruck himself, but you can be using this to fight other bosses. This would be a really good way if there's some other content where enemies are invulnerable and you want to keep your allies alive. You can just spam your 4 on everything and keep allies from dying because the overguard is insanely busted on how easy it is to gain and give to ally. And that's a big reason why I love Styanax. His survivability is really good. He has an energy regen, so he's able to keep up the spam of 4 As you can tell, my energy is still at full. I was spamming 4 most of that fight. And that's what I mean, that unlike in the Simulacrum where there's no enemies to kill, the energy does not come as fast as it does in a mission. Where there are a couple of minions dying, Styanax is able to keep his energy up really well. And that's why I absolutely love this broken Warframe. That being said, let us head back to the Simulacrum and we'll sign off this video. So the last thing I want to end this video on is a few suggestions or changes you can do for the build if you like it but not quite how you want. Firstly, if you're not how I am with Forma and you do not have a large surplus and rather not use 9 Forma on the build and rather use 7 or 6, one thing you can do is take out Power Drift and put in Preparation. This will give you the full energy you'll need, and you will not need to rely on the large extra capacity in order to cast your 3 the way I did for Styanax. Another thing is if you instead rather use Rally Point for your shield gating instead of the Overguard that I am, you could remove Intrepid stand and put on Rolling Guard instead. Rolling Guard allows you to do a dodge roll and you become invulnerable for 30 seconds. There's a cooldown of 7 seconds, but you should be able to shield gate for those 7 seconds or just try to dodge roll and not take damage because you do take less damage when rolling. So something to keep in mind. If you are looking to change the arcanes, I would really suggest Molt Augmented. Molt Efficiency could change, especially if you're trying to rely on shield gating through Rally Point. You could use Barrier. Barrier on shield damage, it gives you a 6% chance to instantly restore all shields. There's a 6-second cooldown, but when you are shield gaining, that would be a definite must-have. Aegis, I'm not really sure on. On shield damage, 3% chance for plus 30% shield recharge for 12 seconds. I think they kind of ruined this one. It used to work like Grace in the fact that you would get damage and then shields would start recharging, but making it shield recharge instead, I do not think is greatest. But Barrier would definitely be another option. Archon Shards, there are a lot of other options you could do for those. Unfortunately, in Simulacrum, I cannot show you, but if you want to do more duration, you could do that to allow yourself to have more javelins or to have your abilities up longer. Armor and health, I would not really suggest because, again, you're not really going to be relying on Styanax's armor or health. You're either going to be 1, using Overguard from Intrepid stand, or 2, relying on shields from Rally Point to survive. So armor, health wouldn't be great, but I do think there might be, someone can correct me if wrong, I think there's an Archon Shard that does increase melee damage, so that might be nice. But there are definitely a lot of changes you could do to this build to min-max it to your wants. I'm pretty happy with how this build has come out. I think it's an amazing build. Tell me what you think. I'd love to hear your opinions or thoughts about it or suggestions you have on how I could improve it instead. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. And you can expect in a few days to see a video talking about if this build has really changed Styanax with the change Nourish, or an overall Nourish video where I'll be talking about that instead. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you all next time. Bye everyone. Take care all. Peace.